How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Creative Collision Podcast. This is Saeed here, bringing you a new episode. On this episode, I'm going to do an album review. This is going to be a short episode, just one topic, an album review episode of King's Disease by Nas. I've been wanting to do this for a while now. It's been about maybe 3 weeks or more now since the album came out. I originally was going to do an album review podcast episode on this album about a week after it came out, but I had issues with the audio equipment at that time, and unfortunately the audio file got lost. So I'm doing one now. I still feel like it's a fresh enough album in people's minds where I can do this album review. And Nas is one of my all-time favorite rappers, so I still want to speak on it and give the listeners my thoughts on how I feel about Nas's album, especially since he's one of my favorite rappers. So yeah, let's get into it. Album review: King's Disease by Nas. Okay, so to start it off, the way I like to start off talking about my album reviews, normally I like to bring on my first initial reaction to it when I first listened to the project and just my initial thoughts. So when I first played it, I played it the night it came out. Played it about 2 times the night it came out while I was playing video games. And the way I like to listen to new albums when they come out, I like to just kind of have it playing in the background while I'm doing stuff. I want to catch the vibe. I want to I don't want to be like all super because you're not gonna, especially with a rapper like Nas, such a great lyricist like Nas, you're not gonna catch everything your first listen. You're not gonna understand everything your first playthrough. So the first 2 times I played it, I was listening to it in the background while I was playing video games or just cleaning and doing things like that. And initial reaction was I really liked the vibe. I really liked the production. And I'll get into Hit Boy and the production a little bit more later on. But that was my initial thoughts. I liked the vibe. I liked the production. I felt like it fit Nas very well. I liked that album was a shorter album, that it just felt, it just played all the way through so smooth. It had such a laid back vibe, and I really liked that. On that first listen, I really liked everything I heard. There wasn't like a track that I hated on that first listen. I thought everything was sounding well, and Nas was in his pocket. So first 2 listens, it was like that, where I just played it through back to back and just try to get a feel for the vibe of the album and a feel for the direction of the album and the concept. And I felt like I got a little bit of that, and so I got where Nas was going, and that was a good thing to listen to it and catch the vibe, catch the mood, catch the messages, and that was my first 2 times listening to it. And then the second day, I played it again, probably another 2 or 3 more times, and this second day I wanted to listen to the lyrics more and digest the lyrics more, and so when I was listening to it, I was riding around in my car, driving to work, where I was more focused and on what he was saying on my way. So lyrically, Nas is always going to be great. Nas is never going to be whack from a rapper's perspective. He's always going to be a great lyricist. He's always going to have bars. He's always going to be able to rap. So I knew that wasn't going to be the problem going into this album. But sometimes I think, especially as he's gone later in his career, I think Nas struggles with at times maybe concepts and pulling together an album that's cohesive and and just kind of sticks the landing more. So on this album, the King's Disease concept, I felt like Nas did a good job of sticking the landing with this concept and what he was going for. Um, as far as what he meant by King's Disease and being a king and things that that comes with when you're being a king, or indulging in alcohol or women and or things that eating bad, things that somebody that sees himself as a king or is a king, they get caught up in that lifestyle, and that can lead to different diseases, all types of diseases, whether it's physical or mental. And I really like that concept, and really enjoyed what Nas was going for, and I think it worked. It worked really well this time around. Sometimes it's not always that case, but this time I felt like Nas really had a concept in mind, had an idea in his head that was thought out and what he wanted to go for, and I think he did a good job of pulling that off. So kudos for that. Because he's always going to be able to rap, so that's never going to be the problem. The criticisms of Nas over his career is beat selection and maybe some songs concepts at times. So he's my second favorite rapper of all time. Him and Jay-Z are my two favorite rappers of all time. So I'm always gonna enjoy a Nas project for the most part. But looking at it from an objective point of view and what criticisms have been of Nas in the past, I've always thought like him picking bad beats was a little overblown. I think he's rapped over some of the greatest production in hip hop. I mean, think of Illmatic and some of the beats off it was written, and I even think some of his later projects were the beats. He had good beat selection on Life Is Good, on Untitled. So I think that criticism of Nas picking bad beats is a little overblown. It is a valid criticism at times. But from an objective point of view, I felt like this. You can't really say that on this project at all. Going back to Hit Boy and his production on this album, I thought was amazing. I just thought it really fit Nas's style, and Nas was really in his pocket. He had these jazzy, kind of smooth, laid back beats, but they worked well. They weren't like when you think of Hit Boy, I think when most people think of Hit Boy, they think of like a hit maker, right? They think of big radio singles. They think of these kind of crazy over the top type of beats that are great, but are more radio friendly and just this hit maker. Being that Hit Boy showed his versatility on here, and he showed that he can make other type of beats, and he's not just a one trick pony. He has the ability to switch up his style and kind of cater to one rapper style, and you can tell Nas and Hit Boy really had a good chemistry on this project. You can tell that Hit Boy knows what works best for Nas, and that's why even though the beats weren't like too crazy, there wasn't nothing that was like so like out of this world type of shit, like samples that are just like crazy flipped or whatever it may be, but the production wasn't taken away from Nas's rapping. Hit Boy let Nas do his thing, and I think that was great production by him, because being a great producer is not just making dope beats. It's also about knowing what works well and what's gonna sound well with that particular rapper you're working with, and Hit Boy really got that down. So I was actually kind of a little surprised that Hit Boy could make beats like that. To be honest, I'm not I'm not super caught up on Hit Boy's catalog like that. I obviously know the big hit songs he's made, and I know he's a good producer, but this is something new. I didn't really never really heard him kind of make beats in this style before. So and he still has some kind of beats that you can, like 27 Summers had that type of, like you can see that, if especially that song was longer, like as a, that had like a trap, that was like a more of a trappy, more modern type of beat that you hear more common. But that's my style. I like that type of production. And yeah, it was surprising when Nas and Hit Boy announced that Nas announced the album, and it was announced that Hit Boy was going to be producing just about the whole thing. It was surprising, but I liked it because, going back to what I said in podcasts in the past, I know I said this with Freddie Gibbs when I did that album review for Alfredo. I always like when a rapper and a producer come together and make an album, because I always feel like it's a formula for success. It normally works out well. So it's a good recipe for success. You know, when a rapper and producer come together and decide to make a project together. I feel like it normally works out because that they know each other well. They're in a good good headspace, good chemistry, and you see this. That's why Freddie Gibbs, he's been doing this for years now, where he's either collaborated with Alchemist or Madlib, and all these projects have been dope. And he really figured that out. That is, especially when it comes to making, if you're trying to make a really good album, that good body of work. Knowing who you're working with, knowing that the person you're working with that's making the beats for you is knows your style and knows what you're going for, it just makes for an overall better album, a more cohesive project. And we've seen this with Jay-Z and 444, which was entirely produced by No ID. Same type of thing. RTJ, Run the Jewels. You see, two people coming together to make music, and they've been on a great run. LP making the beats and also rapping, of course, but being like the only producer, the main producer like that for those projects, right? So I always like it. I think it's a formula for success. So even though it was a little shocking to see it with Nas and Hit Boy coming together to make this album, Hit Boy was producing the album, it still kind of gave me a good vibe and a good good expectations for it. Like, I had a feeling it was going to be a good project. I also just thought Nas was due to make a good album. It had been a while since Nas put out a really good album. Probably the last one was Life is Good, and that was way back in 2012. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the album. That's my review as far as all the tracks. I mean, there's nothing I skip around. I still listen to it, almost a month later. I don't skip around. The last song, The Spicy, I'm not a big fan of that song, so that's probably the one song that I might skip. But the rest of the album I can play through all the way, and Nas, it just adds to his legacy. He was already widely considered one of the greatest rappers ever. He's without question one of the greatest to ever do it, and it just adds to his legacy. It gives him more of a claim for the greatest rapper of all time. You can make the argument about Nas. That's definitely not a hot take, or it's not controversial to say that. So a living legend, and it's so dope to just still see him rap and do his thing and still be great at it. And so hopefully we hear more from Nas. And my overall rating for the album, I'll give it like a solid 8 out of 10. I probably would put it somewhere in the middle of Nas's discography. I wouldn't put it in his top 5 albums. That's another thing about Nas. Um, Critics, the whole thing that he all his albums after Illmatic suck, or he never lived up to Illmatic. I'm like, if you say that, then you just haven't listened to Nas's albums and don't know what you're talking about. I mean, of course, it's always going to be hard to live up to Illmatic, but It Was Written is classic. Stillmatic's great. Godson is great. The Lost Tapes. Like, Nas has a great discography. Outside of Illmatic, Nas's albums, he still has a lot of great music in there. So this just kind of adds to that discography, adds to that legacy, and yeah, so I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10. Right in the middle of his, it's probably right in the middle of his. I know I did album rankings of Nas in the past, so I don't know where I would squeeze this in, but for sure it wouldn't be in my top 5. And that just goes to show how great of a rapper Nas really is, because this album would probably be most 90% of other rappers out there. This album would probably be their best album. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Loved it. I feel like I'm gonna be listening to it for a while. I'm gonna go back to this album. I could see myself going back to it in time. So yeah, that's my album review for King's Disease by Nas. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one.